been invited to talk to you today. Mathilde, my colleague, joins me as well. So I am in the west of Ireland in Clare, and Mathilde is coming from Lisbon. Okay, so Mathilde is based in Lisbon with us. So a little bit about maybe who we are first, which is, bear with me a second now, for some reason there we go, my screen wasn't moving. So we are a digital marketing agency, and what we wanted to do today was I suppose give you some tips and insights in terms of maybe what you can do for your own businesses from a digital marketing perspective. There are lots of different types of digital marketing agencies out there. We are a performance digital marketing agency, which basically means that we specialize in the measurement side of things, where you're going to see those direct results. Okay, so that measurability, the key performance indicators. So that would be very much things like paid search advertising, social advertising, the optimization of your own website, understanding what's happening when somebody lands on your website. So conversion rate optimization. So they're typically the areas that we would specialize in. We are a Google Premier partner, we are a Facebook marketing partner, and we're also a Bing partner. So I think Arnold kind of summed it up there in terms of we are in the top 5% of Google Premier partners in EMEA, and we are an award-winning agency. But this is not about us, this is very much about yourselves. So I want to go through the agenda in terms of what we're going to cover off here for you today. So it is about looking at the digital marketing strategy for business growth. What are the challenges, particularly in the current environment? What are the benefits of doing digital marketing? How do you measure digital marketing? And how do you go about, I suppose, creating a strategy for your marketing online? So looking at what you should be measuring on a month-to-month or week-to-week basis. What is SEO? So understanding that search engine optimization and why it's so important for your business, and how that's going to help, I suppose, with your visibility and your rankings on Google, and the tools that you can use. Okay, so this is kind of a very high level look at digital marketing. So we're not going to go into everything, but we will obviously have time set aside for any questions that you might have as well. So the first thing we're going to look at, obviously, there's no question in anybody's minds that we're definitely in uncharted territory at the moment for all of our businesses. Some businesses are more challenged than others. The environment is continuously changing, whether that be week to week, month to month. The pandemic and COVID-19 has had a significant impact on all businesses. So companies, when it comes to their marketing and when it comes to getting in front of customers, do need to be flexible. They need to think differently, and we need to make sure that we're, I suppose, adapting to consumer changes and trends to make sure that we're there for our customer. Okay, so some of the areas here that we've seen in the last 6 months of lockdown, digital has actually, and this is a Google stat, digital has accelerated by 10 years. So that's more the digitization of businesses. So businesses that didn't consider digital before, didn't feel the need, all of a sudden had to pivot and make sure that they're there in front of their customer. Simple changes to consumer behavior, things like the elderly and new customers online have increased. So people that would have typically been resistant or hesitant when it comes to digital marketing or comes to online, engaging with businesses online, be that B2B or B2C, that has actually accelerated. Consumers expect a much more blended and seamless experience when it comes to what's happening online. So what really they're expecting what they would have got on a one-to-one individual basis from you before, and that experience to be mimicked from an online perspective. So any business, I think one of the big things coming out of this is any business that can help their customers to make decisions with helpful, informative information are definitely going to be the businesses that will actually increase from an online perspective. Okay. Sorry, I've gone backwards. So in terms of strategies, like the buying habits of people has changed significantly. That's as a direct impact to lockdowns, to various different level restrictions, so how we need to think as business owners, as marketing professionals, has to be in terms of how we can do things differently to get in front of our customer. Where are our customers finding us? What do they expect to see? Before, an element of our business would have been online, or an element of customers would have been online. Now everything is online, and that's just the reality. That's not going to be forever, but it's definitely the here and the now. So we need to make sure that we're managing our businesses accordingly. So some stats, this one from Global Web Index, 3 in 5 people are more nervous to visit physical stores. This is no surprise to anybody. This is just as an output from the pandemic, and is definitely going to be short-lived. But behaviors, and we were speaking about this earlier on, Arnold, certain behaviors will stick. Okay, so people will have realized that there is a certain time saving in doing certain things online, and therefore they will not want to go back to the way it was beforehand. And other elements, people are going to be rushing back. So it is about understanding what your business does and how that's actually going to be impacted post-pandemic. Speed and experimentation is going to be key in terms of flexible strategies. And that's down to, speed in terms of what we're offering online, how quick we can react to a change in customer demands, but also speed of our websites, what we're doing, how we're getting in front of people. It's really, really important. There's a significant number of people that will leave or bounce a website based on speed. So again, we need to look at consumer trends. We need to be flexible. We need to be quick. We need to be adaptable. These are all things from a strategic perspective as business owners online we need to be. This is just looking at 75% of consumers have tried new ways of shopping during the crisis with the intention of sticking with them in the long term. And this goes back to what we said earlier on about some of those new learned behaviors. They're not all going to go away. So how do we identify for our businesses what are the ones that are going to stick and what are the ones that are going to have a positive impact should we adapt our online strategies to make sure we're there for them? So looking at the benefits of digital marketing, and there are many, many benefits of digital marketing. I suppose the first one is the fact that it is so transparent, okay? So for anybody that is doing digital marketing today, if you do not have 100% transparency on what is happening, well, then something is wrong. You should be able to see exactly who's coming into your website, where they're going, what they're doing. You should be able to see if you're spending any budget in terms of any kind of advertising, exactly what you're getting back as an ROI from that, okay? And you should be able to then see what channels are most profitable for your business. So that's the wonderful thing about digital marketing, I suppose, compared to traditional marketing channels, whether that's radio advertising or newspapers or any kind of promotional activity that you'll do that way. It also helps you to get a greater understanding of who your customer is. I'm going to make an assumption, and I suppose for anybody on the call that doesn't have Google Analytics set up on their website, if you take anything away from today, it's please go away immediately and get it set up, okay? Because if you don't, you're flying blind. You have no idea what your website is doing for you. You don't know if it's, what element of the business it's supporting. So assuming that everybody does have that set up, the understanding that you get on your customer is great. You can understand where they're coming from, what they were doing, how long they're staying, what their interests are, potentially other sites that they were on. So there's a huge amount of information you can get. And these decisions, these data-led decisions, will then feed into your overall marketing strategy, and they will help support the decisions you make and the investments you make. And it gives you that insight, doesn't it, into, I suppose, the contribution that your website is making to your overall business. It also helps support any of the analysis that we want to do in new markets. And the other thing is digital marketing, I suppose, it breaks down barriers and boundaries and borders, doesn't it? It's local, it's regional, it's national, and it's international. It really does depend on what we want from our businesses. But what it allows you to do is it allows you to be able to target a customer and to get in front of a customer that you didn't have yesterday, no matter what their geographical location is. So websites and what their goals are. We all get a website up there, and a lot of the times we put a website up there because, well, it's expected of, as a business, it's expected that we have a website. But how many times do we stand back and look at, okay, well, what is our website doing for us? What's my expectation out of my website? And actually, how are people ever going to find my website? Just because I created a website and put it out there, it doesn't mean that people are going to find me. So what is the goal of your website? And that's a really good place to start. So is it to generate direct revenue? So is it an e-commerce site? Is it to generate more traffic? Do you want to generate phone leads from the website? Do you want to generate an inquiry leads, a pipeline? Does your business facilitate demos, in which case you want people to download to be able to do a demo? Is it just an informative website? Is it a brochure-based website? So to communicate with existing clients or to maybe attract new customers? How are you engaging with customers on your website? Or do you just want to tell a story of your business, where your business came from, what your business is about? These are all part of what your website should be doing for you on a day-to-day basis. And it should be showcasing testimonials. So why is your product or your service so important to me as a customer? How has it helped other people? What problem is it solving? And why should I engage with you as a business or a service? If your website is not answering those questions, if you do not know the answers to all of these and you're not demonstrating that through your website, you need to review it as if you were a customer and go in from the outside in. So a little bit about the funnel on a website. And I think this is, for me, this is like it is really important actually when it comes to measurability, okay? Setting targets, understanding how your website is performing today. And this is just I suppose, an infographic just to give you some information and insights onto that. So this is basically where we all want visitors to come to our website, okay? But here you can see there's a target of 20% on the visitors year over year. But what happens after somebody comes to your website? How do you know how well they're performing on the website? How do you know if they're taking the action that you want them to take? And we've all heard of conversion rate. And we all know conversion rate is, you know, of the visitors that went to the site, it's the number of people that took that action at the other side of it. But what happens in between? What happens in the middle bit? And that's really important, because when we can start to isolate what happens in the middle bit, we can start to see where we need to focus our attention and where we need to make improvements, okay? So in here, is what we're calling, it's the leads, okay? So 44.4% of people went into an area that took an action. So for example, if you are, let's say a hotel, they might have gone into the booking engine. If you were a retailer, they might have gone into your shopping cart. Okay, so that's what that 44% is. Or if you were looking for somebody to download a brochure, they would have gone into that area. Okay, so again, looking at what you want to achieve here in terms of growth and putting a percentage against that is going to be important. So what this is measuring is this piece here, these leads, measuring how well my website.
I didn't catch that.
Sorry.
Could you try again?
Apologies, guys. That's my Siri now. It should be off. How well did my website do to actually engage or entice somebody to go into the booking engine, the shopping cart, or the area in which they need to download a brochure? Did I have my call to actions done properly? Did I have the right imagery? Have I got the right content? All of that. And then what we'll do is we'll isolate everybody that did go into the shopping cart, or the booking engine, or the download section. And we say, well, actually, of everybody that went in there, how many of them took the action that led to a conversion? So things like speed, things like technology, things like nudge tools, these are all, you know, if you're looking for too many form fields to be filled out, these are all areas that will impact that part of that customer funnel, okay? But again, by having a target in here, you can see that if you only look at one area, you're not going to grow to the same level. But if you look at growing each of these individual funnel stages, your opportunity to grow your revenue is far greater. And that's why this is such an important element. So even though your overall conversion rate down here of 2.9, it grew to 3.1, that as a percentage didn't grow very high. And the reason it didn't is because you're growing each stage of your funnel, which contributes to a much higher level of revenue growth. Okay, so if I go on here, which for some reason it is not. Here we go. So what are we looking to measure and how do we measure it? Okay. I don't know why this is sticking for me now. Sorry, guys. Right. So what are we looking to measure? We're looking to measure our online revenue, okay, and the revenue by channel. So that's one element. If we're an e-commerce site, that's what we're looking to do. How do we do that? We do that through Google Analytics. And if you do have Google Analytics, and if you are an e-commerce site, you also need to make sure you have e-commerce tracking set up. Who's going to help you do that? It's going to be your technology partner. It's going to be maybe your website partner. It's going to be your marketing partner or internal marketing, if that's what you have. Okay. So that's really important. Your revenue should be tracked all the way through into Google Analytics, e-commerce tracking, and you can see exactly what is performing for you. Other non-e-commerce areas that can be measured, your contact forms, okay, your brochure downloads, your phone calls from your website, all of those non-revenue generating actions can still be measured to understand the contribution to your business from your website. That is done through Google Analytics again, but through a function called event and goal tracking, okay? And again, your marketing partner, internal marketing, or your website provider will be able to get that set up for you. Let's take a very quick look at overall performance. And overall performance is going to be some of the metrics that you should be measuring on a very regular basis. During the pandemic, we found a lot of businesses that would have measured year over year. So you'd measure, you know, June of this year versus June of last year. Didn't make any sense anymore, didn't, you know, so they started to measure month on month because you could start to see the trend and the impact of various different messagings and different things that were happening. So these are the key areas at a very high level that you should be looking at: your sessions, which is your traffic, your conversion rate, your leads. And I have a measurement in here for if it was a non-e-commerce site, because actually I think a lot of us on this call today are non-e-commerce. So I've kind of focused in on that area. So how many leads were generated from your website? So there's let's say from that point on, the next piece that's really important is we need to then link back what's happening offline, okay, in your internal businesses to the leads that we're generating. So how are you making sure that you're tracking of the leads that were generated through your website? If you're a non-e-commerce site, how many of those closed into a sale? And that will start to build up a picture for you. If you know how many of those close, you're starting to get an idea of your lead conversion rate. And then you're starting to understand what revenue is coming from that lead generation model that you have. And now you can start to say, okay, well, actually my website is contributing to 10% of my overall business, or 2%, or 55%, whatever the case may be. And then you can start to make decisions around, okay, well, actually, maybe I need to invest more in this. Maybe I need to put more, I'm starting to get more people through. I need to invest in this because it's actually a really high converting channel. Okay, if this were an e-commerce site, what you would be looking at here is you would be looking at conversion rate, and you'd be looking at direct revenue coming through from the website. Okay. Performance by market. Again, going back to one of the benefits of digital marketing, performance by market is something that you have a really good insight into. So here you can see, you can do this by, by region, by local, or national, or international. Okay, so this is obviously done based on international. And you can see this for this particular example, the UK is the biggest level of sessions. Now, you can break this down again into conversion rate and leads generated, but it's important here to be able to see, if you were to just look at this kind of very, very coldly, you probably look down here at Denmark and you'd say, well, actually, I'm not really getting much traffic from Denmark. But actually, if you look at it a little bit closer based on conversion rate, what it is telling you is Denmark is actually converting at number 3. Okay, so the 2.45% is your third highest level conversion here on this table. So don't discount Denmark because it's got a low session number. This should be, I suppose, you should be using this to be able to say, okay, well, actually, what decision do I need to make out of this? And it might be asking questions like, is Denmark a market for me? Is there something that I can do to analyze Denmark as a market to see if my service or my product is in demand? And if it is there a way that I can test that market? Do I maybe need to put a little bit of paid budget behind it to look and see if I do that, if it's converting quite well, well, what does that mean for my business if I actually put something behind that? Okay. You can do the same then here by, did I go past age? I did. Performance by age is another area that we look at. And again, it's very similar here. The 45 to 54-year-olds are converting at the highest level here, right, at 5.51%. But actually 65 plus, even though there's not as many of them, they're converting just as high. So it's really important to look at some of that micro detail to understand where you're going to get that value add from the information within your Google Analytics and from what's happening on your website. There's a combination, and this is where marketing, I suppose, digital marketing comes into its own. When you start to overlay some of this information together, it starts to give you some really good insights in terms of where you're going to get more revenue, where you're going to get more business. And in this instance, we've overlaid the UK with the age demographic that was performing quite well. And you can see here, when you do that, that particular combination is converting at 7.39%. So it's actually a really powerful combination. So if you were looking to have to maybe look, I suppose, target a particular area, this would work very well for you. So if we look at a couple of the different digital marketing channels, and there are many, okay, we have our social channels, we have our paid channels, we have email marketing. I'm going to look at the kind of the key ones, which are SEO, okay, so your search engine optimization or your organic traffic that will come through. And SEO is a low cost channel. Okay, so some channels are going to cost you, some channels are not going to cost you. So for anybody that might be restricted by budget in any way, shape or form when it comes to digital marketing, SEO is a really, really important channel for you. If you get SEO right, you're not going to have to spend as much budget in terms of attracting those customers. Okay. Pay-per-click or paid search advertising can be done through Google, can be done through Bing, can be done through social channels. Pay-per-click is a medium cost channel. If it is done incorrectly, it will become a very, very high cost channel. And Matilda's going to talk a little bit about pay-per-click in a little while, but when you're doing pay-per-click, it's really important that you're measuring the right metrics, and cost per acquisition is a really important metric to measure, because you never ever want to be, I suppose, paying for business that's not going to be profitable. You have to protect your margin if you're paying for any business. So if it's done correctly, it can be it can be a really lucrative, immediate results channel. But if it's done incorrectly, it can lose you a lot of money. And the same as here's the social advertising, it takes the very same approach as pay-per-click would do. Okay, it's just mostly done on Facebook and on Instagram. So picking the right channels, questions I suppose that you might want to ask yourself to identify what the right channel mix is for you. So will that particular channel have enough traffic? Will it have enough leads? Will it generate enough revenue? Will it warrant me investing time into it, basically? How much will I have to pay to get traffic or revenue from this particular channel? Is it expensive? Is it low cost? And how can we fully assess new business opportunities through this channel? So for example, is it a channel that I already feel that actually I'm covering off and that there's not going to be any new customers for me here? Or is it a channel where I am actually going to gain, more brand visibility and people will know about me and I will get new customers? And are my customers on these channels? So for example, if I'm a B2B, there's probably little point in me going out on Facebook and more point in me going out on LinkedIn. It's about looking at those, weighing up what makes sense for you and your business. So with all digital marketing, I suppose there's a customer journey phase or stage to all digital marketing. And we've put these into 4 pillars here, okay? There's the awareness phase, there's the consideration phase, there's the purchase phase and retention phase. So within the awareness phase, this is very much where a customer doesn't know about you. They don't know what you do. They haven't heard of you before. And you're looking just simply to get your brand in front of them, okay? They may not be in the market at this point in time for what you're offering, but actually just getting your brand in front of them is going to mean that down the line, you are going to have a much wider net of customer. So channels, I suppose, are opportunities in terms of getting that awareness piece up is through things like YouTube ads. YouTube ads are a very good way, very low cost way as well of actually getting your brand awareness out there. The Google Display Network, again, that is where I'll be on a site, so I might be on, I don't know, the Irish Times or something, and I'll see an ad coming in for a particular business. I might not be relevant to me at that moment in time, but the brand might resonate with me. Affinity audiences. So this is basically audiences that are similar to audiences of other people that have been on your site. An upper funnel, like all marketing, right? There's an upper funnel, there's a lower funnel. That if you do not feed that upper funnel, you're only going to be talking to the same customer. So if you want to widen your net and get new customers in, you need to think about that upper funnel. An upper funnel doesn't always have an immediate conversion. It is more longer term, okay? So, awareness is a good upper funnel piece, and that can be done through paid, and it can also be done through organic. And then Facebook interests and demographics. And again, that's looking at people that have the similar interests to those already on your site, okay? Then consideration. These people are in consideration for a product or a service similar to what you're offering. They still may not know your brand, but we now know from their behavior and from what they've been doing that they are in market for something similar. So they're considering that. So Google Display Network, again, in market and custom intent audiences, these are where we can actually see what other sites that they've been on. So we can actually see that they are in the market for your product or your service. So putting your ad in front of them is actually going to be a very clever thing to do at this point in time. YouTube for action, which is the same as YouTube, but it's a very strong call to action overlay button. And again, you would be expecting conversions from something like this. And then we have, regular search and Facebook conversions. Okay, so you would be expecting a level of conversion from this stage. And then we have purchase. So on purchase, this is where people have seen your brand. They do know your brand is associated with a particular product. But now what we want to do is we want to remind them, go back out there on your brand search terms. Okay, so anybody that has seen your brand that maybe have been to your site, we want to remarket what you're doing to those people. So get back in front of them. So again, very high intent, very high conversion, different messages. So there's going to be different messages and different ways of actually engaging with customers depending on the stage or the phase that they're in. And retention. This is about the customers that you have already got and just making sure and reminding them of the service. So it's that engagement piece, it's that ongoing piece, it's that remarketing piece. So that is those 4 stages. I'm going to talk about organic now. So this is your SEO, your search engine optimization. And when it comes to SEO, to be honest with you, for most, regardless of industry, regardless of sector, for most websites, your SEO and your organic is probably the single biggest generator of traffic and the single biggest generator of revenue. And the reason that's so important is because it's also the cheapest channel that you can possibly have. So working and focusing in this area for you as a business on your website is going to be really key. This is an example of what SEO is. We've just used our own site for the purpose of this, okay? So it's basically where you can just see here, this is where the name of your business is coming up and there's a description in here in terms of what it is. That description it's important that you're going to get your key USPs across in that description, okay? Because this is the opportunity in terms of where you can try and capture somebody that might be interested in your product or your service. This appears on the Google search engine rank page, but above your organic and above your SEO is 4 paid search ads. So if you look at paid search, it's a very immediate, very high targeted, and you expect an immediate ROI out of that. SEO is much more long-term. You got to work at the content, you got to work at the technical side of your website in order for that to actually, I suppose, give you a result or yield something for your business. So if I go into the details in terms of what it's for, so SEO, it is the process of improving the visibility throughout of your website throughout a search engine. Okay, our focus mainly is on Google because that is where the majority of traffic is coming from. Why is it important? Because the visibility of your site, basically Google bots come onto your website, okay? And they will scroll along on your website, and there's certain algorithms and there's certain things within there that they're looking to see. If you have that done correctly, it means that they will positively rank your website. If you have that done incorrectly, it's most likely that they will penalize you and your website won't rank for those particular key phrases that are going to be important for your business. So that's why it's important. So the areas of your website that you should be focusing in on that will, I suppose, help this are going to be any technical issues, minimize technical issues. There are reports that you can run to see what technical issues are on your site. If you can, I suppose, try and clean that up and minimize those, it will definitely give you a big boost. Getting new content and fresh content. Google love fresh content. You can do this through blogs. You can do this by creating new pages. But it has to be content that's relevant for your business. That's important. There's no point in having content in there that just doesn't make sense. And typically per page, you should be looking at, if you want a page to rank, you should be looking at around a word count of about 300 to 400 words on a page for that to be meaningful in the eyes of Google. And then get optimizing. So even if you get all that content on the page and you minimize all those technical issues, your website still needs to be optimized, and it needs to be optimized for the key phrases that you feel is going to be relevant for your business, and that's going to win. And so that's where you start to do some keyword research and different things like that I'll go into in a minute. So again, and I do call this the forgotten child, because like when it comes to SEO, you know, and if you're doing SEO and other paid channels, because we're paying to get traffic in, the focus naturally is on the budget and is on the spend, right? But so SEO tends to get, like, you know, it doesn't get the focus it deserves, really. So why is this important? Because there's no cost per click. So every time somebody clicks on one of your SEO rankings, it doesn't cost you. So it's low cost versus other channels. It's still the dominant source, as I said, of traffic and leads. It's a critical part of the omni-channel approach, and we really believe in the omni-channel approach. It is a case that the more channels you're on, the better your business will be, okay? And obviously it has you know, it will help with any of those other channels where there is a direct ROI. It can target upper funnel and lower funnel with long tail keywords and higher volume keywords. So you can see exactly the volume of keywords, the volume of traffic you're getting from specific keywords, and you can start to make sure that you're targeting those that are relevant for you. And then as well, I suppose SEO, underneath SEO is Google My Business, and that forms part of your SEO. You can separate it out with something that's called a UTM tracking code, but it's really important, particularly at the moment in this time during the pandemic, to be able to make sure that you're actually, I suppose, utilizing that to make sure you're giving those messages out, whether that's opening times, whether that's messages around COVID safety. It talks to your local community very, very well. And if you have multiple locations, it works very well for that as well. So when it comes to SEO, one of the first things that you need to do within any SEO project, so anything where you want to grow your traffic organically, you need to do your keyword research. That's the first step, okay? You know, you need to be aiming for, when you do your keyword research, you'll get back a lot of keywords that are relevant to your business. And there's going to be a mix of high volume keywords in there, and then very niche keywords that will have lower traffic associated with them, but actually they might be very, very highly convertible. That might be highly convertible traffic. So it might actually suit you to go after those as well. So a mix of both of those is really, really important. There are tools to be able to do this. So the tools that you can use are Google Keyword Planner and Google Search Console, all of which are free and available to you once you have your Google Analytics set up through your website. So there's no cost there. When you're looking at how well any, I suppose, execution of your SEO or your optimization of your website is actually going. The one thing to do is to look at your keyword ranking. So you decide on the keywords that you are looking to rank for, and then you map them out month on month to see the improvements that they've made. And so if you have somebody else doing this for you, you should be getting a report to show progress on what this looks like, okay? So this is just a simple example. Obviously, we can't see what the keywords are here, but it takes time. Okay, when it comes to SEO, it doesn't happen overnight. So for example, it's after taking 4 months to go from position 15 to position 10. On page 1 of the search engine results page, you have 10 positions when it comes to organic. So the difference between the traffic that you will get to your website by being on page 1 and being on page 2 or 3 is significant. So if you find when you do something like this and you have particular key phrases that might be, I don't know, on page 7 or 8, if you haven't really worked on this before, you might jump very quickly from page 7 or 8 to page 3 or to page 4, but actually it might take you a longer length of time then to go from page 3 to page 2 to page 1. So I suppose be patient is what I'm saying. There are always high opportunity key phrases when you look at doing your keyword research. And what that means is, and here's an example of this, okay? If you look at keyword 4 and keyword 5, there's 9,900 searches per month for those particular keywords, okay? And they're in position 12 and position 10. So with a little bit of work, you'll get that onto page 1. And that's going to be very, very valuable for your business to be able to get the visibility on that particular key phrase, if that's the case. Okay. So looking at the optimization of your website, there are some important factors, okay? And not to get too technical, and I'm going to explain these, and you can get the presentation afterwards so that you understand where these are. But your title tags, your H1 tags, your meta description, and your keyword inclusion in the content are all of the key factors outside of the technical issues and making sure they're resolved that are going to help support your visibility for those particular key phrases. So if we look at where they are and what they mean, okay? And again, I'm just going to use ourselves as an example. So your title tag is basically the title that comes in along the top here, okay? Core Optimization, Digital Marketing Agency, Ireland. So we have Digital Marketing Agency, Ireland in our title tag because that's really important for us as a business. That's a key phrase that we want to rank for. If you look again, and then you look at the description tag, okay? In here, what you want to do is you want to get your USPs again that are relevant to your business across. All right. So again, you're talking about marketing, you're talking about the different areas of marketing in here. So that's what your title tag is, and that's what your title description is. To follow on from that, then, no different to a newspaper, you have a H1 tag. H1 tag is really, really important. And one thing I would say to you is that all of these need to be unique to each page. Because if you duplicate some of these on different pages, Google will only pick one up on one page. And what I mean by that is, if you have 3 pages with the same H1, okay, let's say I duplicated my pages and I had results focused digital marketing agency on 3 pages, Google's going to say, I've already picked that up from one page. So now your other 2 pages are redundant. So you need to make sure that the content is unique on each page and that the description tags, the title tags, the H1 tags are all unique per page. So that's what your H1 is, same as a newspaper. You'd have your header, and then the content here again, digital marketing agency, is brought back into the content to reinforce that, to help to make sure that Google understands that it is a very relevant part of what we're doing and what we're offering. Okay, it just helps support that ranking. So important in SEO is to be able to do a content audit. I referenced 300 word count earlier on, but a content audit is really, really important. So what search terms are you looking to rank for? What's important for your business? What content needs to be refreshed? Do you have the relevant content on your website to support that? And just going through that content is going to be the only way to do that. Where is there not enough content? Google doesn't pick up PDFs, they're not readable. So do I have PDFs where I thought I had content? In which case, do I need to create a new page, put the content in there and have the PDF as an attachment, which is fine, but not to have it as the page itself? Are my images optimized? So many more people actually now, when you're doing a search, you're putting in your search terms and you're actually clicking images because people are visual. Everything is going highly visual in terms of what we're looking to do. So if you do not have your images tagged and optimized, they will not show up for those search terms within Google. And how does my content appear on mobile? Google, I think well over a year ago now, Google actually changed to mobile first. Okay, so mobile is a significantly important part of any Google algorithm. So how is your mobile performing? What's the speed like? How is it presenting the information? Is it completely mobile friendly? These are all really important when it comes to your rankings and your SEO. You will be penalized. There's no question about it if it isn't. There are tools that you can use to be able to check this, okay? So there's many of them out there, right? And typically if you're working with an agency, they'll run this for you. But this is one called SEMRush, but it gives you it's like a health check, right? A temperature check, and it tells you your score out of, obviously it's a percentage, so it's out of 100. Anything below 70, I would be concerned with if you were doing this, or if an agency is doing this for you. Anything above 70, I would say you're moving in the right direction. So it's not too much of a concern. The areas, they show here errors in red, warnings in orange, and then notices. To be honest, even the warnings, because there's so many of them, they tend not to have that much of a negative impact, but the red errors do have a significant impact. So that's what's causing this 78%. And it's very easy then. It'll identify, these reports identify what those red errors are actually, where they're coming from. And once that's identified, it could be a very simple case of just getting somebody to just go through that for you and rectify them, okay? Domain authority is another one of the factors that come up in Google's algorithm. And this is basically where Google say, how, I suppose it's the authority of your site, okay? So if I was a brand new website and I just created a website today, my domain authority would sit at 0. If I was a Google or a Facebook or a LinkedIn or somebody like that, I would be very close to being 100. But typically, where I would see a lot of businesses is between the 40 and 60 mark, okay? So that's kind of where you see it. But probably what's important for you as a business is to understand where you are versus your comp set, because that's, you know, that's who's going to rank against you, right? And what this is doing is it's just saying, okay, it's a score of 0 to 100. It's from a company called Moz, and it basically is saying how relevant is my content, and how relevant and what authority do the links that are pointing directly into my site have, okay? So that's why this linking domain and inbound links piece is really, really important. And that's why the likes of Google and Facebook and all those guys have a lot of links coming into them. So if you have a partner, or if you have a number of partners that you work with and you feel that their website is either there for a long time and is of good standing, I would be asking them to link directly to your site somewhere as well. That will help this particular area. So Google My Business, I touched on it earlier on. It is really important. There's an it's basically the area on the site that sits over on the right-hand side when you put in somebody's website, okay? It allows you, and this is just a B2B company, but it allows you to click onto the website directly from here. It gives you directions. It gives you Google reviews, and Google love Google reviews because, you know, it's reviews that Google can use. So do try and encourage people to use this functionality, your customers to use this functionality. You know, particularly at the moment, opening, closing times. So make sure all of those service areas are added in. High quality images and descriptions are really, really important here. If you have a URL, so your URL, all of your URLs at this point in time on your website should be HTTPS, which is just signifying that it's a secure website, okay? And this Google My Business traffic, it comes under SEO. I spoke about that earlier. But what you can do is through UTM tracking, and it's just a little piece of code that you need to put on. It allows you to separate that out in Google Analytics to be able to see in its own right, what level of traffic am I getting from Google My Business? And you know, it is becoming an increasingly popular area for people to access your site. So that is download speed. This is just a very simple, this is really important for anybody. And I'm going to show you a tool in a minute in terms of how to I suppose, check your download speed. But this is just a little case study that Walmart did to show you basically that, I suppose, when the load time for their website jumped from 1 second to 4 seconds, conversion declined. Okay, so for every 1 second of improvement, they experienced a 2% conversion rate increase. That's significant. I would say for anybody, your website speed should be between 2 and 3 seconds. Okay, if it's over 3 seconds, you need to identify what's causing that and you need to rectify it. It is one of the biggest reasons people will bounce. They'll come onto your site, it's loading too slow, they're gone to somebody else, they will not engage with you. It is frustrating. Customers' expectations of what to, you know, of online is that they want something and they want it now. It's that immediacy. So that is important. Here is the the tools that you can use to be able to, and I just don't know if you can see that there, it's Think with Google. So just you add in your URL here and it tells you the speed. We just done Google compared to Facebook here, but it'll tell you the speed of your particular website. You can also put in your competitors' websites to see how well yours is doing compared to theirs. Okay, and every time I do that, I get this. So that is actually it from me. I'm going to hand over to Mathilde, and she's going to take over pay-per-click for you. I actually think, yeah, we're at 40 minutes, so we're doing okay on time. So I'm going to stop sharing. Mathilde, if you want to take over.
Yeah, just 1 second. Just let me know if you can see it.
Yes, thank you, Mathilde. That's perfect.
Perfect. So now we are going to talk about paid per click or paid search advertising. So paid search advertising is very much what you are spending to get a return. So you can do this on Google or, for example, social channels. The way paid search work is that you will have a budget and you will have an expectation in terms of what you are going to get out of your budget. Here is the paid search benefits. So we have here the top 5. So immediate results. So immediate impact on traffic to your website. It's measurable. So you can easily see spend versus return. Targeted. So target very specific audience based on keywords, interest, demographics, specific locations. Is interactive, so campaigns based on results. Change can be made very quickly. So if you are not seeing the results, you can make some changes on it. And then it's flexible. Variety of campaigns types are available. So if we talk about what that means, if we look into Google homepage, at the top of Google search page, you have paid search ads. And underneath that, you have all the organics, which Caroline has already talked about. The paid search ads are basically an auction and people are bidding against each other for position. Within that auction, and that's where Google makes their money and also where your budget goes. You are spending money to be put in front of a very target audience for your particular business or service. And here is an example of a paid search ad for a client that made the cash management software. Up here is very clear who the client is. There's a little bit of information about their company and what they are going to do for me as a customer. Then we have the opportunity to link different pages into this ad. From these site links here, you can talk about different elements of your business. So depending on the business, or depending on the business you are, you might have multiple different products and service, and it's here where you can talk about them. When someone clicks into this area, they will go through a landing page, very specific and very targeted to this area. Now I'm going to show you an example of a paid search results across the years. So year 1, here it is. The client was doing their own paid search management. They recognized that they were not doing in the right way, so they outsourced. The first thing that I'm going to show you here is how you should be reporting on your paid search. And then I'm going to show you the impact that we were able to have and what is the right areas that we need to do and we should look at. So here are the clicks. So they were getting 60,000 clicks. The cost per click was 0.76 cents, which means there was a cost of 12 grand. They converted at 0.88%, which means they were having 143 conversions. Their average booking value was 274 euros, so they generated 39K in revenue. However, one of the areas this particular client was not measuring, and it's an area that a lot of business don't measure, is the cost per acquisition. What you don't ever want to do is you don't want to buy traffic if it's actually not going to be profitable for you. Anything you do on paid has to be profitable. So this was coming at 31%. And you are going to see now year 2. So we acknowledge that this cost per click was probably too high for what they were doing. So through our strategic bid management, what we were able to do was we were able to bring that down to 0.30 cents. So we brought that down to below 50% of the original cost, which means that we could get more traffic. That's why we see here the clicks were gone up to 31,000 and we were able to spend less. Now, there was no change on conversion rate because that was not a focus area for us. Our initial focus was to bring down the CPC and bring down the costs because we knew that that was the expected what they're looking for. So the results was we were able to generate 282 conversions up from 142. The average booking value increased and they generate 90,000 euros. But more importantly, this business then come in a much more profitable CPA, so cost per acquisition at 10%, which means that they are protecting their margins. Now, if we look to year 3, what we did was, as you can see here, no major changes in clicks, no major changes in CPC, and the cost was more or less stays the same. So the key focus for us in year 3 was to look at the end customer journey and to improve the amount of people coming in at the top of that funnel and going all the way through the complete booking. We grew from 0.89% to 1.68%, which means we had 533 transactions. Their average booking value to grow and the revenue from paid search went to 177,000 euros. If we look back when they were before we come aboard, they were spending 12 grand to generate 39. And with the right approach and the right strategy, they are now spending 9,000 euros and generating 177,000. That's a significant difference. And that means the business come at 5.44%. So now they have room and scope to reinvest more and bring the CPA up a little bit to actually continue to increase their revenue through the channels. One of the important areas that we need to look at, and this affects every single channel and affects everything that you do on your website, is conversion rate optimization. So any improvements that you can make to conversion rate is an improvement to how any page spend is going to behave and perform for you. Basically, this is where we analyze the performance through the website. We made slightly improvements to make sure that we are getting more of the people that are on the website to convert into bookers. If we want people to do something, the best way to make it is make it easy. So how easy it's for your customers to engage and transact with your business online? Let's take a look. First thing you need to do is you need to analyze performance through the website. You do this through Google Analytics. Once you have analyze this performance, you will note areas that you want to make improvements and to consider what needs to be changed. An example of this is a call to action on your main nav, for example. Once the change has been made, you let that run for a period of time, and then you test through an A/B testing and monitor the results. Finally, you measure and evaluate the results and see if the CRO has improved. Then you repeat the process again. Now, these are some of the best ways you can improve your conversion rate. So when it comes to your website, start thinking about the information in analytics. Start thinking about how you are looking at demographics. What are the pages that my customers are most interested? Where are people jumping off the website? What kind of insights you can get? Where is the opportunity, trends? Where is the gaps? Google Analytics is the best way to find this information. The other thing that you can do is apply a software into your website that allows you to be able to implement a heat map. These heat maps are a really good way to visually understand where people are going into your website. The deeper the color, the more people are going in that area. And this becomes a really powerful tool when you overlay this information with information that comes from Google Analytics. So here's an example of a heat map. This is from one of our clients, and they had a new website. They wanted to make sure the new website was performing and people are going into the areas that are important for their business. You can see here, Castle and Book Ticket is this one, which are a significant part of their business, is lightening a lot. So people are going there. They also have created a new element on their website, which is a little video, and they added that on, and they were looking to see if people were watching that video, and that's correct. So you see here some dots, which is people are looking for that. Then, for example, you don't see any dots for the school and corporate and news events, but this was a part that for them was not a concern. So the main points of the new website, they have been covered, and the heat map can help you to see these areas. Then if we move on here, we need to talk about an A/B test. We referenced this earlier, but on there are different ways we can do an A/B test. You can do through some softwares that you are doing your heat map, or you can do through Google Optimized. So if you have Google Analytics, you are able to do your A/B tests through Google Optimized. Let me show you an example. So this is the original, this is the A/B test. So this is an example. This was a particular client that wanted to get more people through into buying travel money. And you can see here, we changed the image to this much more family-friendly image. We also took the functionality, the buy travel widgets, from the behind the page to the front of the page, so the client can have all the functionality in the home page. The difference in these two pages is that the new page converted 70% better than the old page. So it was a really successful A/B test. The other element that is really important to improve conversion page is the download speed. So people are very impatient. People will not stay on your website if that not loads correctly. So there are a lot of tools that will help you to do all those tests. If your load is coming higher than 3%, 3 seconds, you have a major issue. And actually, to be honest with you, the ideal is to come around 2 seconds. This needs to be one of your KPIs if you are looking to have a new website. Moving on to the areas of how to improve your conversion rate. There's a couple of key areas that you need to make sure that your website is performing very well. So the first topic is simply navigation. Simplicity is always something that you need to consider. You need to consider that is the best, what is the best for your customers. Then informative and well throughout the content. Content needs to be relevant for your clients. So if you have space, it doesn't make any sense to just add content because you just want to fill the space. Just make sure that you have the right content for your final guest. Then we have think clear and crisp image. Image should represent your business service, and they should represent your brand. You need to make sure that they are all optimized tags, and you rename all of the pictures. Use videos if that makes sense. When we say make sense, is because video can slow down your website. So just make sure you are adding any videos that will not slow down your website performance. Then have a clear call to action. You need to make sure it's very easy and clear in terms of what you are trying to achieve. So for example, if we talk about hotel website, make sure that the book now is visible and with the client all the time. So it needs to be a static bottom. Then know what your customers search for and make that a priority. Again, going back to Google Analytics, understand your data, analyze new information, know the top priorities are for your customers, and make sure that you can find it easy through the website. Then sell your product, service, and unique selling points. At the end, this is the way you communicate with your clients. So imagine you have a bestseller product. Make sure that you are letting people know that you have that. You need to make sure that you promote all your unique selling points at the homepage. And then last but not least, reinforce the problem you are solving. Remember, your website is there for customers to support them and to make sure that we reinforce that. Now, conversion rate and CPA. Let me just open the whole graphic here. So if we bring what we spoke about earlier in terms of cost per acquisition and profitable business through paid, conversion rate and CPA comes hand in hand. This is really important when it comes from paid search perspective. So higher conversion means that we get more transactions. If we get more transactions, means that you're decreasing the cost per conversion. So that means you have more budget. And by having more budget, it gives you scope to invest into the top funnel and starting increasing your traffic again. So it's a cyclical effect. So among all of this, these are the key achieving and all the key points that you need to have in consideration to achieve your online goals. And now I will hand over to Caroline to give you the key takeaways.
Thank you, Mathilde. That's great. Okay, so that is pretty much us wrapped up. Okay, some of the key takeaways probably that you need to consider is definitely for your businesses, think digital first. Ensure you are measuring all of the relevant KPIs for your business. So do make sure your Google Analytics is set up properly. Get the insights from your Google Analytics and use that to inform your strategy. Have a multi-channel approach where it makes sense for your business. Identify the low to medium cost channels and maximize these based on your own business needs, and ensure your site is optimized and monitor the performance on a monthly basis, on a regular basis that suits you. Do a content audit and a content plan. You're most likely, if you get new pages created and new content up there, it's going to help you with your visibility and fully utilize Google My Business. So that is it from us. Does anybody, and I think we've just probably gone right up to time, actually. I think it took a little bit longer. I must be speaking slower than I normally do, but if you any questions or anything that you wanted to hone in on. No, well, thank you very much, Caroline. That was one of the best presentations I've seen on this subject. It brought me back to my time at the Financial Times when we were talking about A/B tests all the time and cost per acquisition. My God, but really very practical tools and really very useful. I mean, I already learned, with the content audit, the site health, all those things. So really good. So now, if anybody wants to have to ask any questions, please, is the opportunity to take. You've got two experts there, so please go ahead and ask a few questions. Caroline, hi. Can you hear me? I can hear you very well. Yes. Hi. How are you doing? It's Tony Judge. I'm in Dublin. Same country anyway. Yeah. So do you manage companies' accounts? So do you look after companies, go into an audit, have a look at how they're doing and suggest ways forward and actually handle accounts for them, or is that something you do? Yeah, exactly. We're an agency, so we work across the hospitality, the retail, B2B, financial service sectors, I suppose, supporting businesses in terms of all of the things that we spoke about, SEO, paid search, strategy. So yes, social, that's exactly what we do. And just, I'm not looking for exact numbers, but typically what kind of a cost would that be per month? Depends business to business, service to service, and absolutely it isn't it would really depend on what we'd be looking for, the size of the site. If you were a retailer, you could have 1,000+ products, you could look to do Google Shopping. It's not an answer I could give you. It would have to be very specific to each individual business, Tony. Okay, no problem. Great, thanks a million. Not a bother. And guys, if anybody does, obviously, look, our details are here. If anybody does have any questions that they want to ask specifically on their businesses, feel free to reach out at any time. Caroline, can I ask a quick question? John here from Dublin. I've got a product at the moment, and it's on a different website. It's promoting on a different company's website. Mm-hmm. And I was just thinking that heat map. Can you put it? Is that a Google, a free Google tool in Google Business? And if so, can you put in other companies' domains, and then I can check the heat map to see what the clicks are like on. So you can't, unfortunately, right? It is a software. It's an external software that you need to put onto the website. So the A/B testing we spoke about, you can do that through a free software, which is Google Optimize. Okay, but the actual heat maps, it's an external software. There's softwares called Crazy Egg. There's a couple of different Hotjar, a couple of different ones that you can utilize. And you would have to put it on that page of their website, and then it's a code. They'd have to feed it back to you and let you know. Okay. But what you should be able to get, does that page link through to your site anywhere then, John? No, it doesn't. No, it's one of the major retailers in the UK, so it's just. I was just trying to see if there was any referral or anything like that you could do, but looks like a great tool to have even on your own website. It is. It's really amazing. It is very good. It's really handy to have. But they should be able to tell you how many hits you're getting. Just if you did want to ask them that, like if you have a dedicated page for your product, they should be able to tell you and maybe on a monthly basis or even on an annual, depending on what way you want to do it, but they should be able to tell you how many people you did have visit that page.
They will for sure. It just started this week, so it's only been nosy.
Okay, great. Have a good look at that. So very good.
Thanks.
Susanna raised her hand, but she's not there anymore. Oh, Susanna, you wanted to ask a question? No.
No.
Okay.
Yes, Arnold.
Oh, you do? Yeah, okay.
Sorry, I am on my cell phone because on the PC I had a very bad connection and then it takes me sometimes. What I wanted to say is that I really enjoyed the presentation, but it's a bit overwhelming for me at the moment because there are so many things we have to take care of. However, as you already said, I have your contacts and I have a very nice business, which is an online shop selling Wineland's experiences, wine and gourmet experience throughout Portugal. And actually, this website has been existing years ago, and now I'm just updating it and updating on the prices and putting in some new experiences. And actually, my month of March is dedicated to this job. And I have used a platform which is specialized in e-shops, but it always has been very slow in selling.
Okay.
And I really would like to have your advice because this has been online right now since quite some time. And I need to get it going because I'm very aware that now 80%, I mean, I look at me and 80% of all our decisions is what we see online, you know. So,
yes, of course, absolutely. Yeah. So it goes
so
back.
eventually I will contact you, and if you could help me, that would be great.
Absolutely, no problem, Susanna. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
No problem.
Caroline and Mathilde, firstly, thank you very much for an excellent presentation. That was really good because all I can say is I thought I knew 90% of this. Yeah, you've educated me, and I tend to be well up and stuff like this. So that's really good. And it's probably just a reminder. It's certainly a reminder to me, and it should be to others as well, that however much you've done this already, you can kind of never stop. Yeah. Because things change, keywords change, what you updated on your website last month may not be quite in line, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's really an ongoing process. But no, thank you very much for that.
No, you're welcome. Absolutely. Look, once you take a couple of things away from these presentations, this is about adding value to your businesses. So that's important.
There was just one thing, Caroline, that's obviously, we don't have the time to cover everything, but you didn't talk about email marketing. I mean, do you think that's a big part of the digital marketing?
Yeah, and I didn't simply because, to be honest with you, as a business, we don't manage it for our clients, and I don't because of the whole GDPR side of things, right? It's just too messy, and if I'm being honest, okay.
Right.
But in truth, it is, and I have spoke to a lot of businesses, and I can see obviously a lot of information from a lot of businesses where it does perform very, very well. So I do think it depends on how engaged your customers are. It depends on how clean your database is. It depends on how regular you're going out. But for a lot of email marketing can be very, very effective, but you need to make sure you're doing it in the right way. If somebody signs up, you need to make sure that you're welcoming them, you know what I mean? And then going back out there with offers, giving them some kind of exclusivity. So there's a lot, it can work very, very well. And the bigger your database is, then if you have that email marketing strategy you really nail down, it can be a good revenue stream for you. It depends on your business, I think, as well.
Yeah, that's going back to my time at the Financial Times. They were doing email all the time. Okay, so we have passed 1 hour. So if there is no more questions, I think we'll leave it there. Anybody? No. So thank you again very much, Caroline and Mathilde. Maybe if you could send me your presentation that I can share, if that's okay.
Yeah, no problem. I'll get that through to you this afternoon, Arnold. Yeah.
Okay, absolutely. Excellent.
And
so
thank
you again.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
everyone.
Caroline and Mathilde, and thank you, everybody. And see you soon. The next event that we have is our sustainability conference next week from March the 16th to the 18th. So if you haven't registered yet, please do so. We have a great lineup of speakers there. Okay. Thank you
Excellent.
very much.
Thanks,
Take
Ernest.
care.
Take care all.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.